I am drinking my tea, hot Earl Grey.
Okay.
Tea.
Tea Earl Grey hot. Yeah.
Tea Earl Grey hot.
Yes, from the famous Luke Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
How he took his tea.
On Dagobah. That's how Yoda served it to him.
All right.
Broken, but still good. Yeah, still good.
Welcome to General Geekery. Specifically,
It's a podcast.
I'm Lou.
I'm Ben.
And this is lunchtime here. We're drinking coffee, tea, and you get to hang out with him and me.
Tea Earl Grey hot.
All right. Luncheon, got a few clarifications and corrections.
Okay,
some of our past episodes.
Let's start with everything we got wrong.
Everything we got wrong. So pretty much every segment.
Go back and listen to the last episode, and that was wrong.
We talked about the Rice Canyon.
Yes. I brought up because I was wanting to put it into some sort of perspective of how much rice that would be from chess from the. Well, why don't you run over the cliff notes real quick?
Right. So the Grand Canyon is 1,000 cubic miles in volume. It's a lot.
Right.
If you were to fill the Grand Canyon with rice, you'd get about 10% full. So it's not a Grand Canyon full of rice, but remember, the Grand Canyon is long and deep and wide. It's enough to fill it 10%.
Sorry, my Sunday school conditioning, just deep and wide. Sorry.
Hold on a second. It's not big enough to fill the Grand Canyon. It's about 10%, but you could probably jump off the Grand Canyon if you didn't hit any of the cliff on the way down, land in rice, and you might even survive.
You might be okay. Rice has a good cushion.
For some reason, I didn't write it down, but I did look up how many Titanics would fit in the Grand Canyon.
Okay.
It was also a lot. It was like a ridiculous amount.
So how many Titanics would fit in the Grand Canyon? Was it 10% of the Grand Canyon? Because then that would mean that amount of rice would fit into one Titanic.
That's a great point. Unfortunately, I didn't write any of that down, so I guess that's next week's correction.
I like how you correct and get the numbers right, and then I just throw more math at you. I was like, well, why don't you calculate this?
This will be the recurring segment. We're just going to have a recurring segment. What will fit in the Grand Canyon?
I like it. How many of what thing? Actually, that's a really great idea. Let's run on that. So let's pick a thing, and then we'll figure out. And then Wolfram Alpha will take care of how many of those things fit in, and we can guess. And we can guess how many would fit in there. So
you know what that means?
What's that?
This is an excuse for something I've always wanted to do.
Yes.
To buy a subscription to Wolfram Alpha.
I mean, haven't we all? Why don't you tell people what that is? But I didn't know about it until I looked it up for these purposes.
Everybody can check this out, wolframalpha.com. It's a computing engine. It does a lot. It describes itself as computational intelligence, and what it's really useful for, especially if you subscribe. You know that graphing calculator you had? It was obsolete 20 years ago.
My TI-89?
Yeah. Wolfram Alpha basically replaces a lot of that kind of computational stuff. Does a lot of advanced math, and it has tools built in to make that easier. It guides you through a lot of that math. It assumes if you're doing some kind of equation that you might want a graph, and makes it really easy to just get the graph out without having to jump through a bunch of hoops. And you can pivot to different things. Cool, now I've got this. I want to do this calculus function. What is the area under this curve? And I just integrate this directly by, writing a web app. Makes things a lot easier, makes it a lot easier to explore math. If you're learning math at a high school, college level, it's a really handy tool for digging in, and just being able to work with it in a more intuitive way. Now, the thing about it that makes it a computational intelligence is that it also just has a lot of information in it. If you want to know the calories in food, it's pretty much got all of that in there. It knows the volume of things. Now, if you look up the Titanic and not RMS Titanic, you're going to get an album, a music album. It's just got so much information in it that it confuses itself sometimes, but you can type natural language queries into it and get it to come out with things.
I like if you type in Titanic, it just starts playing Celine Dion. Does it tell you? Does Wolfram Alpha tell you that there's enough space on that door? Because there's enough space on that door.
I'll never let go. Crack.
How much space was on that door? 2.2 human beings size of space was on that door.
Oh, and Grand Canyon is
repeating, of
musical
course.
work. So like sometimes you have to massage it a bit, but there's a free version. Go check it out. Subscriptions, obviously better, support it. But most people, if you just want to look up something really crazy, you can type in a plain English search on Wolfram Alpha. So apparently that's a new segment.
Okay, so let's go ahead and think about this for a second. I hope I don't give you too much cutting if we get off track too much. What would be a good thing to see how many fit into the Grand Canyon? So
That'd be great. Email us at gengeek3, gengeekpod,
gengeek1@gmail.com.
gengeek1@gmail.com. The number one, my friend.
Yep, that's it.
gengeek1@gmail.com.
All right, so
Let us know. Another thing, Ben, you said you came to a conclusion, a discovery last week that oil is non-renewable.
yes, I did. We were discussing it, and I found out that it is made. The process is not quick to make oil. Apparently, it takes many years. So give or take a few minis. So it seems that we're running out of that, but it's so cheap. I mean, why not just keep? We're producing so much. Why not just assume it's always going to be there?
Well, there are non-renewable oil deniers. There are people out there. After I said, if you ask anybody, they'll say, well, of course it's non-renewable. No, apparently there are people who believe that it's something algae and pressure and heat, and it's renewable, and all the oil fields that we've already drilled out, they're back filled up again. Like there's plenty there.
Like we've just gone deep enough in the water table. It's not the oil cycle. It's the water cycle. I think
I don't know.
I think they're getting their viscous substances confused.
Yeah. So there are oil deniers. So if you weren't frustrated with the things already, have fun with that. One more correction that I forgot about, which leads us into our first topic. And that is, we were talking about calendars, and I was razzing on the popular belief in Christian churches that, Sunday is the Sabbath, because why else do we celebrate on Sunday? I was kind of making a nice little, what I thought was a sly reference, but I said Judeo-Christian, and oftentimes the Jewish faith, their contributions to society get left out. It's like, the Christians leave it. Well, no, it was there long before Christians. I've been trying to make sure that they get their day in the sun. I overcorrected this time.
Okay.
Swerved right off the exit because no, the Jewish faith, all the sects, they know what the Sabbath is. Right. There's no confusion in their synagogues. This is only a confusion in the church.
You were half right.
Right. But speaking of which, Ben, where do you start your week? What is day one?
I start my week the same way in Office Space. They would start their workday. So you roll in on Monday, but I don't really start to get any work done until about Tuesday. I usually take Wednesday off and roll back in late Thursday. And I probably only work about 5 hours a week, honestly.
I zone out for 3 or 4 hours. So would you say Monday is the first day of the week?
Okay, so this is apparently a big debate because I was listening to other people debate about it, and they were pretty much all saying, "Oh, obviously it starts on Monday. The week obviously starts on Monday. My work starts on Monday. Of course, everybody's week starts on Monday." And I've never ascribed to that. And maybe it's just me, and I'm just like, well, every calendar I have says the week starts on Sunday and it ends on Saturday. And, I took middle school Spanish. So I'm like, well, Saturday is Sábado, the Sabbath. So I've always been of this, and people look at me so bad, especially in church when I would be like, well, we shouldn't be going to church on Sunday. We should be going on Saturday. And they're like, no, of course not. The week starts on Monday. It ends on Sunday. Sunday is the seventh day of the week. That's the day that we rest. That's why we have church on Sunday. And I'm like, yeah, but you missed it by one. Like,
right. It's off by one error. So if the most common answer that if you get it from, say, biblical scholars, hopefully your pastors, this is the day Jesus rose. And it makes it really convenient on Easter that we get to go to church the day Jesus rose, on the first day of the week, from, this kind of biblical telling. So we don't go on the last day of the week. We go on the first day.
Right. And that's just always I think Saturday makes more sense. Like, and I think we've kind of melded these together in some weird way, is because Saturday seems to be the day that everyone rests. Everybody's like, I'm going to do what I want to do on Saturday, and then people of the Christian faith, we all go to church on Sunday and like we worship on Sunday
Well, it's
because
a nice way to start the week off then, right?
But then we should leave church and be like, all right, get back to work. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, this is really, it's a really interesting topic because we've gone from, where do we end the week to what does that mean about the implication of starting the week? And everything so far has been talked about in the context of the church and religion. But we, especially in the U.S., really love this work week. We identify with our jobs. They define us to a certain degree. And I'm being a little tongue in cheek here again, but Monday's that work day. That's the day the work week starts. Excuse me. And there are a lot of desktop planners. If you go buy a planner, okay, maybe nobody does that anymore because everyone's got cell phones. But if you look at your calendar app as well, there's settings for it. And there's planners. If you buy a planner, you have to pay attention to what you're buying. Some might start Sunday, some might start Monday. And for me, when I'm at work, I even look at the week a different way. I have my work calendar. I only look at Monday through Friday. Saturday and Sunday, as far as work goes, unless I'm in a job where I'm on call or something like that, Saturday and Sunday don't exist to the work week.
Right, exactly.
Which changes the whole concept of time.
It does, and obviously that's a setting on like Google Cal and stuff like that. Is that you look at it, and you're right. The work week is Monday through Friday, and you've got all the space for all the things you're going to be doing Monday through Friday, and then Saturday or Sunday are just like little whatever. You can do whatever you want. It's your free time. I've started to look at when we started talking about this whole calendar thing. I started to think about it, and I think there's a lot of parallels to us talking about the Oxford comma. People who listen, you guys know that we are big advocates of the Oxford comma. It's even settled lawsuits. I know that it is not, it no longer needed, or I'm a big proponent of it. I won't speak for you. Is that it's essentially not needed because it's assumed in a lot of situations. Most times that delineation is not needed. However, there have been times in lawsuits that that has actually affected the outcome of trials and whatnot. I'm starting to look at the Oxford comma and this where the week starts kind of in the same way. Traditionally, when we set up the calendar, our version of the calendar, it started on Sunday, it ended on Saturday, Sabbato, Sabbath. You rested on that, and then Sunday was the first day of the week. Just as we have the Oxford comma, because that's how it was set up when we came to this version of English. But people have used incorrectly not using the Oxford comma for so long. Now it's not needed. People have started their week on Monday for so long in their minds and their perception that Sunday's no longer the first day of the week. So in practical usage, it seems like Monday is kind of where everyone's going. And again, I sit in the minority where I'm like, I'm using the Oxford comma. The week starts on Sunday. It ends on Saturday. Saturday's the Sabbath. Like, it's I don't know why more churches don't. I think like Seventh-day Adventists and some of the Christian churches do services on Saturdays. Obviously, Catholics have Mass on Saturday, that sort of thing. But everybody else is like, nope. Monday's first day of the week. Sunday's the last day of the week. We rest on Sunday. Get your shit done all the other days.
It's interesting. It's interesting that you that you draw the parallel to Oxford comma as something that was in English and then went away. Because it didn't exist until the late 1800s. The serial comma was present, but it was not formalized as a thing, as a style, until the late 1800s. English existed a long time without a formal recognition of a serial comma, I don't think that really dulls the point. I think it actually expands it a bit. Is calendars throughout history? We're not going to get into calendars, but calendars throughout history have been flexible. They haven't always been 7 days of the week. It's sometimes extra days were introduced, shimmed in. This Gregorian calendar was a standard that the world has come to adopt because of the insanity of trying to manage a bunch of different calendars. But globally, we can't even agree on New Year's, things like that. So calendars are really interesting. And to me, I guess I generally think of Sunday being day one. Practically for work, Monday's day one.
Right. You
But-
kind of in your mind have these two different versions of the calendar. You're always kind of
Yeah, and it's something that unlike the Oxford comma, I don't find that this ever leads to potential confusion. Like, leaving out the Oxford comma can definitely lead to confusion. In this case, I don't think it ever actually leads to confusion. This is where they differ, because I never tell somebody that we're going to schedule something for the third day of the week. Like I never use ordinal numbers for the days of the week.
You know what though?
I do pay attention to week numbers. I haven't, because I haven't been at work, but I do use week numbers, oddly enough, which also can be kind of a headache.
Something else that leads me to that, again, is one of those things where like I end up falling on the short side of it, where most people are like, Ben, you're dumb. And I'm like, well, yeah, but they're like, specifically in this, you're dumb. And what that argument has been before is when someone says, so yeah, you don't say, I'm going to see you on the third day of the week. But what some people will say is, I'll see you Wednesday, or they'll say, I'll see you Wednesday week, or I'll see you next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, this Wednesday, next Wednesday.
And then that always drives me nuts, because and maybe this is a Southernism, you're from New York, so maybe you can help me out here from a different part of the country, is I've always had it explained to me as, we're recording on Thursdays. This Thursday, days don't have meetings anymore. Let's say we're recording on Thursday.
Yes, the fourth day of the week. Fourth or fifth.
I just tee it up and let you hit it out of the park. Is if someone says, I'll see you Saturday, that means this coming Saturday.
The one that's coming up.
The one that's coming up. If someone says, I'll see you next Saturday, that's where we get sticky,
right?
Because as
is it the next Saturday to occur?
As a Southerner, it's like, oh, it's not Saturday, it's next Saturday,
right? Because this Saturday is this Saturday,
right?
So the next one would be the next one,
right? And then
or is it the next Saturday to occur?
And exactly, and then the problem then becomes Saturday after next just blows my mind, because then when people go, I'll see you Saturday after next. So then I go, all right, so it's not Saturday, it's next Saturday. I'll see you Saturday after next. So next we just indicated was not in 2 days, but that was in 9 days. So that means Saturday after next is going to be that next one. So Saturday, it'll be the third one down the line. Right. And then people are like, no, you're wrong. Because then other people are like, no, Saturday after next is the Saturday after the next Saturday. But if you say next Saturday, you don't mean the next Saturday. You mean the Saturday after this one that is next. Did everybody follow that?
But isn't that easier than saying the Saturday of week 21?
That's So anyway, I don't know what day it is. I don't know what days start with. I say we just come up with all new names.
I agree. So this is an older one. I'm sure it's come across everyone's radar by now. This is from December 2019, so 5 years ago, where the new Mac Pro was released. We've talked about Macron's law before on the podcast, where the computer you want will always cost $5,000.
Yes.
Not the computer you're going to buy.
Right. The computer you're going to buy is probably around $2,000, but spec out everything you want, pretty much $5,000.
Right. Well, you know what? This would be cool if it could game as well. I really got to get the GPU, and of course you need the storage space. Once you can always talk yourself into, and it's an internet law. It's not, an actual law. So lawyers, stay at home. So this new Apple Mac Pro, if you max it out, new as of December 2019, it's 10 Macron's computers. The max, you can max that as $52,199. Okay. You need a screen for that. This is a Mac Pro. It's not like an iMac. The screen's not included. Apple has one it will sell you for $5,000, $49.99.
Wow.
Now,
is it like 8K resolution?
Oh yeah. It's beautiful. The monitor's beautiful.
Gotta be.
And it's going to look great, like leaning up against a pile of books, because the stand is an extra $999.
Why is it still? And I mean, I used to sell things, and I know that this works firsthand. Why is it such a big psychological difference between something being $1,000 and $999.99?
I don't know. Why is there 9/10 of a cent on gas?
That's what I was about to say. Thank you. One of us is unmuted. It was 9/10 of a cent on gas, and I'm like, why? Why have we gone to that extent? And I mean, I guess maybe across all of your gas stations, all across the U.S., and all the gallons of gas that you're selling, maybe that tenth of a cent makes that much of a or 9/10 of a cent makes that much of a difference. But how much profit could you possibly get off that? You're putting up boards that have it listed on the board. That's not a unit of currency. You've now exceeded the unit of currency. A penny costs more than a penny to make, and you're charging 9/10 of a penny on top of the thing that you're selling. That's extraneous and unneeded.
Well, the 9/10 pricing was from the Great Depression.
I like how quickly you can find this stuff. I ask questions. I ask a hypothetical question, and you're like, well, it says right here. It says right here.
That one was just a factoid that was in my brain that I fact checked, so it was easy because I knew what I was looking for. But I'd have to imagine that with the volume they sell, that extra 9/10 of a cent adds up to a lot. And there are a few articles talking about that it's millions of dollars it comes out to.
I bet we can find this pretty quick. So when I'm from my calculator, let's see, gallons of gas.
Wolfram Alpha. How many gallons of gas?
Gallons of gas sold in U.S. Annually.
Oh, that's production. That's not going to help.
How much gasoline does the United States consume? All right, so in 2019, about 142 billion gallons of gas. So you want to run that math for me real quick? 142 billion times 9/10 of a cent.
That's basically 142 billion.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
so that's so significant. So I'm sitting here going, how much could that possibly get you? Literally hundreds of billions of dollars. It's back to Office Space. It's literally just that little bit extra that you're able to.
Remember, that's cents. So that 142 billion is only 1 billion.
Right. Sorry. Yes. Sorry.
Billion.
Wrong order of magnitude. Absolutely.
And we are looking at we're looking at 1/10 of a cent less than that. So you do got to bring it down by
let's say $1 billion.
1.3 billion.
Right. 1.3 billion. Let's be conservative. 1.3 billion that they're making extra.
What's a 0.1 billion between friends though?
Reminds me, I need to ask you, can I borrow some money?
If it's for if it's for the $400 wheels that are an option for your Mac Pro.
Where are you rolling this damn thing?
Well, $400 wheels. I mean, that's what it cost me for tires in my car.
Right.
Now, I'm a cheapskate, but
you know what? Okay. And I heard somebody talking about this. You know what you could do? Rather than put the $400 wheels, go to Lowe's. And I know we're about to redneck rig this. I'll be your resident redneck for this. Go to Lowe's, get a furniture mover. You know, the ones that have like the cloth on it.
Yeah.
And the 4-caster wheels. Get that.
See,
put your new. How much did you say it cost? $52,000.
$52,199.
Put your $52,000 computer on that. If you're worried about it tipping over, go ahead and pick up some elastic bands while you're there.
Yeah.
You know, go ahead and zip tie that thing down.
I know what you're saying. It's not going to look great. Get a can of Krylon while you're in there. Spray paint that dolly.
You see, this is why we're not allowed to have nice things.
Yeah.
This is what we do with them.
That and our incomes.
Slight. Yeah. That is also a limiting factor. Wow. So what's the total cost? Computer, wheels. Let's say I'm going all out. Computer, monitor, wheels, the whole shit. You know what? And let's throw
we're gonna round this.
And let's throw in some Logitech speakers while we're at it. $100 Logitech, because I assume it doesn't come with nice speakers.
I'm gonna give you the $200 as a discount, so we get $52,000 instead of $52,199. Okay.
As you're figuring this out, real quick, let me say, I bet, without even looking at it, I bet Apple has done what they do with most things and gotten rid of as many ports as possible. So I was talking about the speakers. I bet it doesn't even have like a headphone jack. Like,
it's a Mac Pro. It probably has a lot of ports on it. The Pro line they usually
true
leave stuff on.
Yeah, it's not like the Air.
It's not a MacBook Pro. This is a Mac Pro.
Right.
Yeah.
But I could just imagine them being like, get rid of the port so you have to use your Bluetooth. So anyway, go ahead.
I'm going to give you a $200 discount because I don't deal with that. $52,000 for the fully loaded machine.
Okay.
Another $5,000 for the screen.
Okay.
So we're 57.
Okay.
$1,000 for the stand. $58,000. And you want your $400 wheels plus your $100 Logitech speakers. Another $500. $58,500.
Wow.
Now, what's the tax rate in Georgia? Is it
Depends on the county,
Depends
but
on where
it's
you are, yeah.
yeah, it's 7%. It's 8 if you're in Clark County for Splost.
So times 1.07.
Yeah, it's 8 in your county.
There's $4,500 in taxes alone. It's $62,595.
Can I say something right now?
You're glad I gave you that $200 discount, aren't you?
I am. So $4,500 in taxes. I've never been big on vehicles. I mean, they have to get you places, but I would never buy like a Maserati or something like that. Even should I have the money, I would never buy that. One, they depreciate. Two, it's to get you from place to place. Whatever does that best is what I care about. That said, my car, I drive a 2011 RAV4. If I were to sell it right now, no way I'm getting $4,500. I couldn't sell my car
For the taxes
on that machine.
That's yeah. $400 wheels. I could get multiple cars, or the kind of cars I buy for this. Now, granted, I have to put gas in my car. There's ongoing expenses, but my car does take me on vacation. It takes me to work where I earn money. I could buy a lot of gas. I could buy one car and a lot of gas for $50,000 or 62. Like this is a different class of problems than we have.
That's crazy. It could take you. It could take you on vacations. Should you decide to further your education, it could take you to community college. So I'm going to use that as a segue. See what I did there?
Nice, well played.
I want to talk about Community a little bit. The TV show.
Yeah, we didn't give it much time last time. So this is your first walkthrough, right?
Yeah, it's my first walkthrough. I've been going back on it because I'm just a huge Donald Glover fan. I'm a huge Childish Gambino fan. The stuff that he does on Community is great. His show Atlanta was amazing. The writer director. No one should be this good at doing that many things. You should have to pick a thing. You can't be the best actor, writer, musician. Like pick a lane.
You say that, and he's like, "Hold my beer."
Right? He goes, "I'm going to make Atlanta."
Hold my egots.
So anyway, I go back through and I'm watching Community, and a couple things have jumped out at me. And something on this most recent one jumped out at me was they were celebrating Dia de los Muertos, and I just murdered that. I tried to cover it with a little bit of an accent, but Day of the Dead. They're doing a Day of the Dead Halloween episode. It was kind of a mix of the two. And one of their running jokes on there is they called it, they were like, oh, well, Dia de los Muertos, it's Mexican Halloween. And then Senor Chang,
I love that.
He's so good. Senor Chang comes in and he goes, actually, that's a sex position, and it's pretty offensive to even say that. So Katie and I are watching this and we're like, wait, is it? Is there something out there that we don't know? So we go to the most trusted of all websites, Urban Dictionary. And
UrbanDictionary.com.
UrbanDictionary.com. And we pull it up, and the entry is just, it is a thing from Community that Senor Chang says is a thing. And then Troy, played by Donald Glover, sits there and goes, yeah, I've done it. So that's what Urban Dictionary says. But then under that, Urban Dictionary goes, but let's have some fun with it. You guys tell us what what the Mexican Halloween is.
Is this a not suitable for work segment?
This is not. Oh, it's a disclaimer. This is not suitable for work. So there's one that's right off the top. Another name for the fairly uncomfortable Bermuda Triangle sex position, so called because the triangle between the woman's arms, her back, and the man's stomach resemble a tortilla chip.
I like that they dodged the details. Like that's skillful stuff. There's some really good descriptions of things on Urban Dictionary.
The act of dipping your privates in caramel and then having somebody lick those off while wearing a lucha libre mask. See, you got to wait for the third part. You got to wait for the...
yeah, it's still not as good as the first one.
Not as good. So, oh, and then of course this one. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. But while having sex, you open up a can of chili con carne, and then you just have a little fun. And personally, I'm a big fan of chili con carne. So
I like chili con carne.
So, so anyway, a little sticky, but we'll make it through.
Nice.
So anyway, that's I'm learning. Community has become an educational show for me. So as they're in community college, I too am getting an education.
Have you learned any Spanish from the study group?
No. Wait. I just used Spanish. Yes. I mean, sí. I like how most of my Spanish comes directly from Dodgeball. ¿Dónde está la biblioteca? Which also, by the way, if you haven't watched Community and you just want something to amuse you, um, Troy and Abed, so again, Donald Glover's character, and his best friend, at the end of the episodes, they do little just bits and things like that. And the very first episode is them doing Spanish. And Childish Gambino, basically, freestyle raps with Abed at the end of the first episode. If you don't even watch the show at all, because obviously I'm not getting money from Community, it's not on TV anymore. Dan Harmon's not, my best buddy or anything like that.
What do you think that would take?
Is go watch them do the Donde Está la Biblioteca rap. It is absolutely great. Also, a little bit of a side note, because I just saw this yesterday. Do you know who executive produced Community with Dan Harmon?
No.
Two guys, brothers, the Russos. The Russo brothers were executive producers on Community. And as I understand it, this could be off, so people feel free to correct me on this. But the episode of Community that's pretty famous.
JenGeek1@gmail.com.
The paintball episode, if you've seen it, they do like a paintball war episode.
Right.
It was done by the Russo brothers. Now let's step back a second. Russo brothers, one of the things that got them into TV was they directed the pilot of Arrested Development. So the Russo brothers directed the pilot of Arrested Development, got into TV, executive produced Community, and then when they directed that episode of the Paintball War, it caught the eye of Kevin Feige and the people over at Marvel. And as I understand it, that's how they got the gig to do Captain America Civil War, which then led them to do Endgame and Infinity Wars. So there's actually this quick step from Arrested Development through Community to the largest movie ever made, grossing ever.
That explains all the paintball markers in the Marvel universe.
So anyway, that's my sidebar on Community and the Russo brothers. So
the watch is going well, it sounds like.
Yeah, I don't watch a lot of TV, but it is the thing that's good about
it's 6 seasons, so you're going to be there for a while.
Don't tell me that. You know how I am. One day I decided I wanted to read a longer tome, and I picked up Stephen King's The Dark Tower series. And I had downloaded it all to I downloaded an EPUB and just threw it on my iPad at the time.
Right.
And I read probably for like an hour into the Gunslinger, and then I look at the bottom and it says you are 1% through the entire thing, and I had read like 200 pages, and they're like, you're 1% through this, and I was like, no, I'm 0% through this because I'm done. I can't commit that kind of time. So don't tell me how long the seasons of Community are, because I'll never get through it. But what is nice about I don't watch a lot of long form TV outside of Game of Thrones, which really broke my heart. I don't watch a lot of hour-long TV shows. I just somehow it seems arduous. 22-minute comedies, I don't really, and you don't really have to follow the plot like show to show. Like shows like Kimmy Schmidt. Like I can just sit down and just be like, all right, I'm gonna watch 1 or 2 episodes of Kimmy Schmidt. It may end up being the same as sitting through an hour of TV, but I just don't necessarily want to sit through an hour of Boardwalk Empire, or I did watch Game of Thrones, but Breaking Bad. I just don't necessarily want to sit through an hour of that.
Yeah, it's hard. Boardwalk Empire was good. Breaking Bad was good, but they're long. There ought to be a law. You get like 2 seasons, maybe 3 or 4 if you're doing hour-long shows. Get to your point. Get it done.
Right.
Don't
I like
run
that.
8 seasons.
It's like I like Schitt's Creek so much, and yes, that is a half-hour show. But Dan and Eugene Levy had what they wanted to do, and they had their plot lines, and they didn't keep expanding on them. They just got them done. Then on the other side of it, you have Big Bang Theory, which is based on a pretty simple premise: hot girl moves in next to dorky guys, and then they run through the gamut of, all right, well, now this person's going to get married, and then this person's going to get married, and then this person's going to have a kid, and they just keep trying to just add on those situations for every single person until finally you just run out of people. And you're just like, all right, well, I guess we're done now. 12 seasons later, or 13 seasons, however long that show ran. And I liked it early on. But by the end of it, everyone knows you don't have a story to tell anymore. You've run out of your stories.
The solution to the 3-body problem is not 7 bodies.
Right, exactly. So,
all right. Speaking of bodies.
Go ahead.
I have a serious question for you.
I have a serious answer for you.
You've been certified in CPR first aid. You know how to use a defibrillator?
I do.
Automated one.
I've been certified in CPR since 2001, and certified AEDs whenever the certification came around. So far back, I don't remember when I first became certified in AEDs.
So, how would you defibrillate a centaur? Is the heart in the chest like a normal body?
You
know,
could
like a human body, I should say.
For those that are watching this, you could literally see my gears stop turning. I just looked into the abyss and my mind broke.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, you might try to defibrillate the man part, but that heart is clearly not big enough for the entire body. A horse body is massive. Do you
Right.
defibrillate is it where the horse heart would be? Like,
Right.
where is the heart? How do you defibrillate a centaur?
Yeah, because my mind also jumped immediately to, does it have 2 hands and 4 feet? Or does it have, or would the front 2 hooves be like hands? And it would have, so anyway, let's stick to the heart one, because
Interesting
I
question.
think 2 hands, 4 feet is probably the easiest answer to my dumb question.
Well, yeah, and we can drop this in, I guess, the video version. But there is a picture that has 2 suggestions. And that's where that comes from, is horse heart or human heart. But
I'm
I'm
looking at
open
it.
to other ideas.
I'm looking at it right now, and I'm thinking A, and I'm thinking A. I'm thinking the human side, but then because I'm thinking, well, the human, it's not mostly human, it's 50% human, 50% horse. Well, but is it? Because then it's like it's 50% of the human, because the human is basically, the transition point is at the midline, but then
Right.
the horse, it's actually like 85% of the horse. You're just missing the neck and head. So from the horse perspective, it would have to be on the horse part of the body. But on the human perspective, the human part of it is what's kind of running the show. So
Right.
then I think maybe I have a human bias.
Maybe, but I think there's a lot to be said for, like, I don't know how much taller a centaur would be than a normal horse. Um, would a horse heart be able to pump the blood that high up to the human brain?
Ooh, that's interesting.
Is this a 2 heart kind of scenario?
Yeah, it may be a pressure gradient issue. Yeah, but counterpoint: would the human heart be large enough to supply blood to that much of the horse's body?
Yes,
Because
I don't think a human
the
heart
horse's heart
alone.
would be larger, so it would be a more powerful engine to move that blood. But then the human heart would be aided by gravity, but you still have to get it back up to the human heart. Would the human heart be large enough to do that?
Yeah, I'm thinking that a human heart would not be large enough um, to pump blood for a whole horse.
Let's think outside the box for a second.
Okay.
Maybe the centaur, we don't actually know where centaurs come from. We assume they're terrestrial beings. However,
Oh, okay.
they could be from Gallifrey, which would mean that they are time travelers with 2 hearts. Centaurs might be the Doctor. Or at least from Gallifrey.
Honestly, that is the most sensible explanation we've come up with.
I mean, cows have 2 stomachs. Why wouldn't centaurs have 2 hearts? I mean, here's the thing. I've never seen a centaur have a sonic screwdriver, but I've never not seen a centaur not have a sonic screwdriver. Make sense? Who's following me?
Well, yeah, I mean, think about it. You watch Harry Potter, they're not just going to whip out all their advanced tools right away.
Right.
You throw the whole game.
Right.
First
episode.
I think we nailed it.
I think so. I think that we have decided that centaurs are time traveling beings from Gallifrey.
So the only question that remains on how do you defibrillate a centaur topic is, at the regeneration, is the next Doctor going to be a centaur?
Ooh,
Is the world ready?
I like where they're going with it right now. I like who they're choosing to be the Doctors. Centaur would be good. I still really want to ride out the Black Lady timeline, for lack of a better term. I'm really, really digging what they were doing. Although now what I've got stuck in my head is David Tennant riding a centaur, because then it seems like that would be like a good way to get around Gallifrey. So then you've got, David Tennant, Matt Smith, and all these guys that are just riding around on centaurs. So
Nice.
there's that picture in your head.
I like it. So I have a gift for you.
A gift?
We didn't have enough time to
or
get
a
it.
gift or a gif or a gif? Do you have peanut butter for me?
Actually, it could be the latter
Okay.
to display the former.
You have a ladder? Sorry,
Two.
I'm easily befuddled.
Well, then maybe you're having problems finding all your files on your hard disk if you're easily befuddled.
I do. I'm not. You know, I'm real bad. We're not going to talk about this, but I'm real bad about not. I'm getting better at putting things in files on my computer because I'm bad to just use my desktop as just like a holding place.
Right.
But I've gotten worse on my phone because now I just use the search functionality, and I
Right.
literally don't organize anything on my phone. I just download it. It goes wherever it goes. Some programs I don't even know where they are.
But and I think that's a goal of system design now is you shouldn't have to worry about that. You can just search for it and it should just what you want should just appear.
When I'm
for me,
producing best thing ever, I literally just search for things and drag and drop from my search icon. Like I don't actually go after them. So
yeah, we might be there. But if not, then you want some help. I've linked to the file system visualizer,
okay.
fsv.sourceforge.net, with the links on the card, and you can look at your file system in a visual fashion. It will show you your directories, your files, your trees, kind of show you how big they are, give you some idea of it. It looks a bit archaic.
It looks like the original Doom.
Well, that's because this is a faithful reproduction of FSN, the 3D file system navigator that came out that Silicon Graphics made back in the 90s.
I like how the very first thing at the top it says FSV pronounced FSV. Sorry, that's just there's no
That's why I
there's
didn't
no
call it
phonetic
Civ.
there's no phonetic. Sorry, you guys aren't seeing what I'm seeing in my right here. There's no phonetic explanation to it. It's just said exactly how it looks. It's just said how the letters are said. There's no phonetics in there. Go ahead.
Yeah. So this is a faithful reproduction of the file system navigator from Silicon Graphics back in the 90s. The reason I present this to you is one, it's kind of a joke. Two, do you know where the file system navigator got its fame?
Probably something in pop culture, but no, not exactly. I would guess like a dorky movie, like a tech movie or something like that.
You're so close.
Am I?
It's a Unix system. You know
No!
this. Yes.
You have to work fast though. The Raptors are going to catch up to you. Really?
Let's go faster.
Now,
Let's go
okay.
faster. Yes.
So answer me this because you know obviously way more about technology than I do. I barely get along with it, and I work on it, not with it.
Right.
So in 1993's Jurassic Park, when it shows the file system and all that, and you see it like moving in 3D, it didn't actually do any of like the graphic movement or anything like that, did it? It was just files, or what was that? What that interface actually look like?
It was basically live running. It was live running the software in the movie, basically. That's what
Really?
it looked like.
Wow.
Yeah. Now you probably wouldn't use it that way, but
You mean to
That
escape?
is-
You mean to escape impending and certain death?
well, you might, but it was. I think it was implied as kind of like she was navigating the park's like computer systems and like the door lock systems, things like that. This is a file system navigator. You're looking at a file structure on a computer, so it's not quite the same thing, right? Like you're not hacking to Gibson here. You're just looking. You're browsing some folders.
Right.
So I think it was used to dramatic effect, but that was pretty much a live running of the system as it was. That's what it looked like if you were navigating files.
Interesting, because when I watched it, it kind of reminded me of as I'm kind of thinking back through my mind, is I kind of thought it was like navigating a map of the. It looked like it was navigating like a map of the park. And it doesn't
Right.
always convey that it's actually files, like you're saying. It kind of looks like they're actually it's supposed to be representing the buildings in the park, not just the files with the files for those buildings in the park.
Yeah, they used it. They used it in a really creative way, and I would be willing to bet that as part of the art direction, they populated the file system in a certain way to make it look interesting. Files of different sizes, so you have the different elevations. The tree structure kind of makes it look like it's branching. So that depending on how you manage that, I'll bet you that was art directed to a degree, but it's just a file browser,
You know what
and you can have it for your computer.
You know what I always wondered about around that scene is if you remember the raptor that pops up his head and he's in front of a projection. He's got binary. He's got ones and zeros
Right.
projected all over him. Who's projecting just a bunch of binary information? That was what was always weird to me. Is that means that raptor is somewhere in like a conference room and pops up in front of somebody's Kodak projector, and someone's just showing binary. They're just showing a ton, like grids of ones and zeros.
Well, that was a popular screensaver in the 2000s. Maybe it was predicting the future.
That's maybe that was popular until we got to
Maybe
the Matrix.
Jurassic Park. Maybe Jurassic Park took place right after the Matrix was released in theaters.
Ooh, okay. So yeah, absolutely. That's fascinating to me because, like I said, I'm pivoting my entire way of organizing things, especially because I don't have a big hard drive on my computer, so I'm constantly migrating things off of it so we can keep putting out these Broken Toy Studios content. So the thing I see most often on my computer is disk almost full, and I'm like, damn it. So I've gotten a lot better at putting those things together. I'm also highly invested in external hard drives. So if people want to start advertising with us, that'd be great to mitigate the cost of storage.
And if not, at least you always have a free file viewer.
Right, that's true. Do you still run a Unix or a Linux system on anything?
Yeah,
This is more of a. This almost sounds
everything.
like. What's that?
I've had pretty much everything.
I was about to say that this sounds like a off mic conversation, but I'm just like, are you still running Unix on anything right now?
Yeah, Plex runs on Linux. Well, it runs on Linux. Unix and Linux is a big argument in the computer world, but for most normal people, you can use them interchangeably. And I know we're going to get hate mail about that, but yes, I run a Linux server. I run Debian for those who are interested for my Plex server.
Yeah, I don't know any. I couldn't delineate between the two. I have no idea.
Well, if we don't get hate mail from that, then they're all basically the same. That will definitely cement it.
I actually I have a tough time running running some Windows stuff because Windows breaks on me so often, and I was doing some remote work through Windows, and it just was constantly breaking on me. So I mean, at least right now, I've been pretty happy with the Mac OSs. Speaking of, okay, I can do a transition here. I can find a way.
How do we get into this? I'm waiting. I'm trying to give you that room.
Wait. So speaking of rooms and speaking of Linux systems and Unix systems and computers and chat rooms, if we remember in Napoleon Dynamite, his brother Kip spent an exorbitant amount of time on chat rooms, which is where he met his wife LaFonda.
Nice.
On
done.
The chat rooms.
Well done, sir.
Listen, it was a little touch and go there for a second, but you know what? We landed the plane.
I gotta admit, I wasn't sure if you could do that one, but it was good.
So like me going back and watching Community, we went back and we didn't go back and watch it. It just happened. We were just like, it just happened to be on. We're like, okay, we're gonna watch this. And,
it came on the TV, and then you can't skip past it. You
exactly.
Watch it.
And our oldest, who's 9, had never seen it. So we were like, well, you kind of need to see this movie. Now, I will say, the first time I saw Napoleon Dynamite, I hated it. I didn't get it. I was also in a room with people that didn't like it as well, and so I was like, I want to be part of the group. So yeah, I don't like it as well. And then I revisited it, and I'm like, this movie is brilliant. This movie is absolutely hilarious and brilliant. But something came to my mind: is Kip and Napoleon, they are watched by their grandmother. Kip's 32. But Napoleon's in high school, and their grandmother is kind of their caregiver. And then, of course, Uncle Rico comes and helps watch them and things like that. But I was always wondering what happened to the parents.
Sure.
So, of course, the internet, just like with Urban Dictionary telling us what Mexican Halloween was, is the internet, there's a very interesting fan theory. And I think it's interesting because it adds a lot of depth to the characters. Now, we're going to get a little bit morbid now because it's the internet and people get morbid. But obviously their parents aren't around. And the theory goes that their parents, when Kip was 16, because there's a pretty big age difference there. When Kip was 16, he was learning to drive. And so the scene would be set that mom and dad are in the car with a Kip that's learning how to drive and a Napoleon who's a baby. And Kip makes a mistake, maybe runs a red light, something like that. Vehicle is struck. Kip and Napoleon live. Their parents die. And Kip staying at home at 32 in the movie is kind of like, well, shouldn't he kind of be out on his own? Which eventually he does make it out on his own. But I
Right.
think that adds to that depth of that story because the idea is that Kip is still at home 32 and needs to be kind of cared for by his grandmother because he feels guilt and remorse for being the causation of his parents' death.
Oh, sure.
Napoleon just kind of lives his life because he was a baby. He doesn't have any recollection. This is the only life he knows. So he just kind of goes on and lives his life, and he's probably a little bit on the spectrum. But Kip was fundamentally changed by the day that he caused his parents to die, and it kind of froze him in his life journey until he was able to reach out through chat rooms, start to find people that he resonated with. And what's really interesting is he found that he resonated with somebody not through, in general social senses, he and LaFonda probably wouldn't get together, especially because the
Sure.
film is supposed to be some sort of like nondescript 90s type timeline. Is they probably wouldn't have hung in regular social circles.
Right.
But outside of, race and cultural backgrounds, they found each other through a chat room, and it was only their ideas, their thoughts, their emotions that connected. And it didn't matter that she was a foot taller than him, or she's black and he's white, or anything like that. They were able to meet through these chat rooms, make a connection, meet firsthand, but they had already fallen in love with each other, and they just loved each other for exactly who they were, and it allowed Kip to then go get married and move on with his life and actually get past that tragedy that happened. So really the story behind the story in Napoleon Dynamite, by this theory, we all look at Napoleon and see him trying to help Pedro win the student election. That's not really the story. Really, the story is about Kip coming into his own and becoming a fully functioning human being that is finally healed from the tragedy that he endured when he was 16 years old.
This is really the tragedy of abandoning grandma.
Yeah, it really is.
Now both her kids are growing up at the same time.
Right, and
They're overcoming their challenges and ready to move on.
and she also seems more concerned with making sure that Tina, the what is it, llama, that Tina gets fed than she does care about the kids. So maybe it shows that she actually has some remorse, or not some remorse, some anger towards Kip and towards the grandkids.
She had just retired.
Right.
She had her life back on track doing what she wanted to do, and now she has two kids in the house, and one of them's 32 at this point.
Right.
That's, a bit old for being a kid, but
and on chat rooms all day long and running up her bill. Because even Uncle Rico's like, well, doesn't that cost money? And Kip's like, yeah, she's kind of mad at how much time I spend on those chat rooms. So it adds
that in the 90s, almost definitely he was tying up the phone line too.
So it adds a totally different. Go ahead.
It really, I would say it adds a bit of weight to it too, because in the 90s, if you had a car, most people would just go out and do something. Chat rooms back then were not terribly popular. Were not terribly well populated. You need your own computer in your house. You need a modem. You needed a service or a number to call if you were going to a BBS, a billboard, something like that. You needed some kind of service to connect you to other people. And it wasn't like this today where internet was just pervasive. Even if you had access to it, it was kind of a pain in the ass to maintain. It was kind of like the Windows computer you were talking about earlier. There was just a lot of effort. There's a lot of annoyances to go around to stay connected online back then. It wasn't pervasive. It wasn't just something you pulled out your phone out of your pocket. You didn't have a phone in your pocket.
Right.
So this is a choice that, if Kip decided at any point in the past 16 years, he could have just gone out and gotten his license.
Right.
He didn't, and he could have. This is the 90s. He could have gone to the mall.
That's exactly it. He refused to drive. He rode his bike. Can you pull me into town? He rode his bike, and it plays as a funny joke, but then it's like, oh well, he rides his bike because he's too afraid to drive a car. Likewise, if we remember the time traveling scene, they bought a time machine, and it's funny because it's like, oh, put it here, and it like shocks your balls, and like, ha ha ha, that's funny. But it was, if you look at the time it's set for 1984. So it would be going back far enough that his parents would still be alive. So based on about when this movie is supposedly taking place, then he would be going back to before his parents died. So it kind of makes it sad, the time travel scene, the time machine scene now in Napoleon.
Yeah, of course. Now it's all that work is put on us. Now we have to fill in all the blanks.
Yeah, they just made a funny movie. Now the onus is on us to come up with the backstories and tie it all together.
You have how How much longer can you go?
I'm you okay. Are you good till 1 or till 2? I'm good.
I have other things I have to do, but I can run to like 1:30.
Okay.
And if we put a few more segments down, I could definitely
Well,
pull 2 audio episodes out of this.
okay. I would probably say instead of pushing it, why don't we? But the movie thing.
We have great stuff on deck that's timely right now.
Okay, then let's keep going.
Okay.
We'll just try and get through it pretty quick, and if the 2 episodes are shorter, whatever.
Yeah. Oh no, we're already an hour in. We have plenty of material.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, an hour 3. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. All right.
What's next on deck? What else is going on in Geek World? Are we going to take any ad breaks? You know what? Screw ad breaks. If you guys want to advertise with us, send us an email at brokentoystudios@gmail.com or GenGeek, the number 1, GenGeek1 @gmail.com, or you can send it to bestthingeverpod@gmail.com. We can be found at all those places. Also, GenGeekLou@gmail.com. He never checks it. He doesn't even know he has that.
Nope.
GenGeekBen@gmail.com. I hardly check it, but you can also find me there. There's the ad reads in less than 30 seconds.
Email all of us.
There's all the emails. Just send it. If you
CC all.
if you type in enough letters and hit @gmail.com, you will probably find us somewhere.
Throw a brick through Ben's window.
Oh my God! Can I tell you something that scared the shit out of me the other day? I keep forgetting
Yes.
I can cuss. I can fucking cuss.
I very much enjoy when you're scared. No.
I have 2 German Shepherds. Flynn, who's about 10 years old. He's getting old. He's my old man, but he's also super protective. Like he barks at anything. He's ready to attack it. He's not barking like I want to go play. He's barking like I'm going to murder that. And then we've got Lily, who is well, first off, they're named after Disney characters. So Flynn is Flynn Rider, and then Lily is Tiger Lily. Lily is about a 1-year-old, just over 1-year-old German Shepherd, and she's derpy. Like, I love her, but she's just goofy and derpy and happy, and she just stays by my feet anywhere I go. She's adorable. But they're both, if Flynn starts barking at something to attack it, Lily does too. She sounds super scary. Her bark is actually deeper than Flynn's is, which is funny because she's only barking because he is. So he's barking to kill and attack. She's barking at him to be like, what are we doing?
You want to go hang out?
So here's what scared the living Jesus out of me was just 2 nights ago. I'm laying in bed. We've got these big windows next to the bed, and we almost always close them. But I left them open, and you can pretty clearly see outside the house, and you probably can see pretty well inside the house because we've got a couple of little lights on in the bedroom. Flynn has a bark that is. He has 2 barks. He has one that's like, oh, there's a cat outside, something like that. And then there's someone that should not be there, like intruder alert bark.
Right.
Both of them at the same time saw something outside the window and got that, like, we're going to murder bark. And I look at the window and I swear, we joke about the person outside the window. I swear there was a person standing like 3 feet outside the window. And then I kind of blink my eyes and look up again. And it looks like, I can't tell if it was the wind of a tree moving or if it was a person moving. But they both flipped their shit. And I swear I saw someone looking right in the window.
Oh, the ghost is back.
I don't know if it was a ghost. I don't know if it was a person that was cutting through my yard. I don't know what it was. Scared the shit out of my dogs, and they were ready to attack. And I could not go back to sleep for like an hour because I'm like, I'm not going in and checking. I mean...
Yeah, drunk person, wrong house.
Right, exactly. So anyway, if this is the last podcast because I'm murdered in my murder house, say nice things at my funeral. Give a nice googly for me.
We were going to talk about a fixture in my house.
Yes.
You want to read that in, or?
Yes. Yes, and.
Yes,
Hold on. My phone doesn't recognize my face anymore. Yeah, so you have something in your house that I am very jealous of. Now, with everything that's going on right now, because you and I don't lean into the whole like quarantine all that much, but we all know it's going on. We all know coronavirus is going on.
Right.
And then as soon as it started, what did everybody go buy?
Toilet paper.
Toilet paper. For some reason, people
Everywhere.
are living on a solid toilet paper diet, which is ironic because it's high in fiber.
High in
Yeah, you got it. One of us is superfluous. It's probably me. It's high in fiber, which causes you to need more toilet paper. And here's something else that I found that was interesting while we're on the subject, because people are like, "Oh, well, I go through a roll of toilet paper like a day," and I'm like, "A day?" So some
Hope
people,
they're not on septic.
I don't know how many you use, but some people use 4 or 5 sheets. I'm a 4 or 5 sheeter. Sheeter.
There was I can't remember what the show is called. There's a show where they interview like 100 random people, and it's like a fake mock science show, and they do interviews. And one of them was on toilets. How much toilet paper do you use? Over, under, hang, all that stuff.
Well,
What's your technique for wiping?
Exactly. So I'm a 4 to 5 sheeter. I like to go with 5, but I'm trying to be conscientious. So I go with 4 a lot. But the people that were going through like a roll a day were doing the thing where they roll their hand in toilet paper, and they would just roll it for like 10 times for a single wipe, and then discharge that, and then wrap it up like 5 more times for a single wipe. So they were going through like a ridiculous amount. So stores are just out of toilet paper. But you don't have that problem because you got a bidet.
Yeah, we use way less now. Now,
I'm so jealous of your bidet.
common misconception. Toilet paper becomes obsolete. It's still nice to like dry up a little bit.
Yeah.
Now we have a fancy one that even has the dryer on it, the air dryer. The heated
Really?
dryer. But it doesn't do a
everybody
perfect
that's
job.
listening right now, I not all of this is information I know, so we're all learning this together. You have a dryer? That sounds like I'm probably not leaving the bathroom for a while.
Yeah, so there's basically, if you want to arbitrarily slice it up into 3 segments, and I will.
Okay, please.
There's three basically classes of bidets if you just follow my arbitrary assignment. There's cheap ones that you can just get, maybe run around $100, ship them on Amazon, and they'll spritz some water.
Let's call that like a Type C, like a type C bidet, third tier. Those are the ones I guess that you just like. They just like kind of hook on to.
They basically just clip on. I think they just clip onto your existing seats even.
Right.
They're. I've never used one, so I can't tell you much about them. But they look pretty. They look pretty shoddy.
Right.
Now you move into your second type, your class Bs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is where I'm at. They are powered, so you need electric.
Okay.
They hook right up to your water line.
Sounds
so
like it's going to be better
water
pressure.
Yep, they're under pressure. And they can run with a varying degree of features at that point because you have power, you have water. Mine has a remote control with 2 user settings.
Okay. Well, yeah, that would make sense. That would make complete sense.
Heated seat.
Okay.
Now the problem with the heated seat is if you have a user program, if it's already heated, you have to wait for it to cool down. You're not going to hit the button, "Oh, I'm going to go to the bathroom in 10 minutes." No one's going to do that.
Right.
But you can program that. You can also program the sprayers for front and back, where on the front and where on the back you want them, and the pulse pattern.
Let's hold off on the pulse for just a second. We will get there. First off, again, super jealous. I have to wonder, is there a calibration? Like, do you have to calibrate it? Because not all humans are made the same. I know you say you got like a front and a back. Is there any calibration to it, or is it just pretty? Or do you have to like resituate yourself to make sure you're in the right place?
Yeah, the Class C's basically do not. The calibration's all manual. It's how you fasten it, how you fix it. So you're going to be moving around. With these Class B's, it depends on what you get into. The basic models really don't have much. With the remote, you can choose where to position it. Now, some of the Class B's have a fixed remote on the side of the seat. This one is a full seat replacement with a actual remote that magnetically mounts to the wall, and you can position both the back and the front spray along a good range. So you can tune it into your personal preferences and even program it for that.
So here's what I'm thinking. My mind is wandering for a second into the greater beyond of things that are possible. So with your bidet, you have a remote with your bidet. Mm-hmm. I also know that you under your Lunai in your backyard, you have strip LED lighting.
Right.
We can really take the bathroom experience to a whole new level. You can run those LEDs in there, and then you've got your bidet. Maybe set them up on the side, like Velcro them up to the wall, so you've got like your remotes right there next to you where you're going to be. You could really create an ambiance.
So let me introduce you to the Class A bidets.
Oh, Class A. This sounds like the stuff that's on the other side of my railroad tracks.
Right. So we went from like around $100 in your Class C.
I was going to ask. Okay, so Class C,
Yeah.
about $100 makes sense.
Probably cheaper. You could probably find it on sale for like 60 on Amazon.
I mean, you can run a hose, I guess, in from the backyard.
And that is the basic bidet. That is the fundamental basic bidet. It's based on the prevalence of having a clean bucket of water when you go to the bathroom.
Uh-huh.
That was not present in a lot of cultures. European cultures wasn't present. That's why bidets were not popular when they were being invented, except in France, some places for royalty, but generally not as popular as the culture of washing. Not bidet specifically, but washing after avoiding yourself in other cultures. So it caught on a lot easier in some parts of the world than others, just because they were used to wiping themselves with clean water. We don't wipe ourselves with clean water. We wipe ourselves with paper and throw it away.
25 rolls of paper, and yeah.
Right. So your Class Bs, this is for us, this was like a luxury item. Several $100s you're in for. I think ours was about $400, the model we picked.
Which makes sense. And before we get there, I'm going to assume that because you and I both ascribe to pay a little bit more to get a lot more, but not willing to pay a lot more to get a little bit more. Neither one of us are buying the $5,000 computer. Nonetheless, the $55,000 computer, we still fall on the pay a little bit more to get a lot more. So I assume that's about what that price point is for your Class B.
You could probably start. I think you could start with the lower end ones, like in the 220s, and it gives you basic features with some power. Now, that not included in that is if you look around your toilet, most bathrooms do not have a wall receptacle. If it's a powered bidet, you need to run power to it. We had a receptacle installed. Wasn't that big a deal, but something you'll have to factor in if you have power now. Now the water installation, it comes with it. Ours came with a T-valve. Sometimes you have to buy some extra plumbing stuff. I would highly recommend if you're looking into this, make sure it comes with everything you need to mount it. Again, electricity is going to be separate, but if you're not sure, borrow an extension cord from somewhere or buy one if you don't have one spare. Try it out for a while, excuse me. Then you can do something more permanent. But when you go up to the high class ones,
Class A,
strip lighting, musical performances, water shows, they're absolutely insane. They will release scents. You can have scent reservoirs. You can spend thousands on a bidet. And these are, when I'm talking about these bidets, I'm talking specifically about bidets that attach to existing toilets. Bidets can be freestanding features. They can be their own fixture. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about what are the seat attachment ones that are, a lot of them are Japanese companies that make them because they're really popular in Asia.
Right.
And they're gaining popularity here, I would say. But those are specifically the things I'm talking about. I'm not talking about buying a whole new fixture for your house because it takes up no extra space that way.
If you saw, for those that are watching this on YouTube, and if you're not, go to YouTube. It's fun to watch. But for those that saw me look away for a second, and I wasn't not listening to you.
Were you doing how much?
I was no. I wasn't looking at that. Is the first when you said it does lights and colors and shows and all that. I was like, this sounds like World of Color at Disneyland. This is like the water show. Because we're big Disney fans. The first thing I thought of, and I've been watching the Imagineering story, and they were talking about all the stuff that they did to make that show of World of Color at Disneyland in California Adventure. And that's what I'm thinking. I was like, why go to Disneyland? We're all quarantined anyway. You buy one of these bidets, you've got your own show right there in your house. I'm never leaving the throne.
They're pretty impressive.
It also makes me think of the World of Coke, where they have the shooting water and things.
Now bidets specific. I'm gonna go a little off topic here.
Okay.
I'll take back my seat for just a moment.
Please.
You're in your seat. You're not in my seat.
I wasn't going to mention it, but so I'm back in my seat. Yeah.
Yeah. The bathroom game, the plumbing game in general, indoor fixtures, crushing us here in the U.S. If you go to Japan, I stayed at an Airbnb one time where they had the Japanese baths are a bit different than ours. So usually you step into a room, if it's a more traditional style, you step into a room, you have a shower, and you have a bathtub, like a big deep soaking bath. Usually you shower first, clean yourself, then you can soak for a while. And traditionally that's because before indoor plumbing and more prevalence of clean water, which is actually relatively speaking, a scarcer resource in Japan than here. Plenty of salt water, but clean water is, a bit harder, a bit more resource intensive. But back, before you had plumbing, filling a bath by itself was hard enough. So multiple people would use a bath. So in Europe, well, whoever needed to be cleanest got in first, and everybody just washing everybody else's dirt. In Japan, you would clean yourself first, rub yourself down with a rag, whatever, clean yourself as best you could before you soaked. You'd still have some dirt in the tub, but it was kind of disrespect for the people who would follow you. Of course, Dad always got to wash first anyway. But so that's the idea. That's still maintained in a lot of the bathroom styles. A traditional bathroom style looks like that. Just a big room, shower, bathtub, no toilet somewhere else. And this Airbnb I stayed at had one of these styles, and the bathtub could be filled with digital control, and it was like a 3-way light switch. There was a control in the hallway. It was programmable. You could program it to fill your tub for when you got home, and you could control the temperature. So you could have it fill the tub and then heat on demand. So you could say, fill it at 5:30. First person's going to get home at 6. They're going to take their bath, and you're going to have it heated. Then you shut off the tub at 6:30. Dad comes home at 8:30, 9 o'clock. We're going to rewarm the bath. He can now soak in the bath, and it will turn off, the heat, and you can run it like that. You could then automatically empty it when you were done. You could program all this stuff. I assume there's an app for some of these bathtubs. Like basically our whole plumbing game is just, we are so far behind in the US. It's embarrassing.
I was going to joke that you could be like, computer, run my bath, but really it's not that it's far off. It's literally that. I'm sure there's an Amazon Alexa extension that you can, because I call my Alexa, I don't call my Alexa, I call my Alexa computer, because I want to be Captain Jean-Luc Picard. So as I literally am drinking tea Earl Grey hot, is you can literally go, computer, run my bath. So you've sold me on the bidet. If I could have a bidet today, I would. So I did do a little bit of
Lowe's.com.
Well, you know what? I went to homeperfect.com. Because I was thinking, when I shop online, because we're all doing a lot of online shopping right now. When I shop online, I usually order things in order of not most popular. I don't want them to sell me the thing that they want to sell me. I do least expensive to most expensive, because I keep kind of going up in price until I find, like we say, the price where I'm going to pay a little bit more but get a lot more. But sometimes it's just fun to flip that search the other way around and start at most expensive and work your way down. So that's what I was doing right now is Toto, not the band.
And I would recommend Toto. It's not the band. That's the model I have. That's the brand I have, and I highly recommend Toto.
Although the branding on that should be so easy. The rain's down in Africa. The jokes write themselves. So anyway,
do the thing you never could.
Your butt is Africa. In case you're wondering, your butt is Africa. So Toto makes an all-in-one toilet bidet, like you're talking about. It's a top-end one. So this is the Toto MS993 CUMFX, the Neo Rest 750H dual flush toilet. If you're wanting not the inside SKU on that. So the Neo Rest 750H dual flush toilet by Toto. It is their top of the line, and it's in stock with free shipping for $13,870.
Wow.
So listen, this isn't a luxury podcast. If you want a luxury podcast, those are other places. But if you're just sitting on, listen, if you're Scrooge McDuck at home right now and you're bored, here's what I suggest you do is go online and order one of these and go ahead and get your Mac Pro for $56,000.
Yep.
Get your $13,800.
You got the wheels on it already. Just wheel it in there.
Just wheel it right into your bathroom with your $13,000 bidet toilet. What world are we living in?
But it's fascinating to me that you mentioned, the default online shopping, because I hadn't really thought about this, but they're not popular. We went and looked in Lowe's for one, and Home Depot for one. Couldn't find them. Went online to Amazon, obviously. Did some looking around, because that's the default now. And I said, I wonder what I could find on Lowe's.com, and actually found the Toto washlet that I had on Lowe's cheaper with free shipping than Amazon. I was like, what? Why wasn't there even a single one in the store to hint that
Right.
this could be a thing? Like,
Right.
even one in the store says we have more available online. Nobody in Athens, Georgia buys bidets.
That's it.
So go online to see more. But
people
no,
are-
like, no clue.
People are not living in the future. You and I are living in the future. Like, I go in and I look for lighting
Right.
and the strip LED lighting, and they've got like thousands of traditional light bulbs, particularly the ones that just suck up way too much energy. And then they had 2 strip lightings. One was for the back of TVs, which I did get that.
Nice.
So the back of the TV glows. But then the other one was just general use strip lighting. That's all they had for LED strip lighting. And I'm like, dude, it's 2020. Strip lighting
Right.
and bidets. You need to step up your game. So
Yeah,
but-
we're living in like the one, maybe half a seashell era right now. We're so far away from 3 seashells.
So it's so funny that you mentioned that, and I assume you were doing that for a transition.
Oh no. I should have you saved it for that. No, I meant to close out with hold on a second.
Yeah,
so
go ahead.
go online. Lowe's will ship it to you. Amazon's got them. Home Depot, if you're a Home Depot fan, go buy yourself a bidet, install it, and then take some time to do the things you never had.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you
Now,
mentioned,
you know what? The seashells thing was better. We need to workshop this. We need to do an episode, and then figure it out, do all the editing, then come back and record the episode like the right way,
write
with the good stuff.
ourselves a script of the things we've already said extemporaneously.
Yeah. So I totally messed this whole thing up. Why don't you lead us in?
You're totally good. Speaking of the 3 seashells, most people know that's a reference to the great movie Demolition Man. Wesley Snipes, of course, Sly Stallone, and spoke of a future where Taco Bell is the greatest restaurant you can go to, and you use your 3 shells. He doesn't know how to use the 3 shells to wipe your butt. That said.
Unless it's Pizza Hut, but
So let's talk about
Different
movies.
segment, yeah.
Let's talk about movies for a second. Sly Stallone has confirmed that they are making another Demolition Man. That they're pushing Demolition Man 2 into production, which I don't know that we need. And I'm all for reboots and that sort of thing. But was there really a yearning for more Demolition Man? I feel like you had your fish out of water. You told your story. You gave that version of the future. I don't really know what they're trying to do with another one. But then again, I didn't watch the new Blade Runner either, so I don't. Maybe I'm not the audience for this movie.
I like the new Blade Runner. Blade Runner is very much about the world, and it's probably been pretty well explored in other media in various types of, what does it look like when you have robots, things like this, or replicants, and how, where you draw a line of humanity. There's been a lot of examinations of the theme, but I think Blade Runner did a good job of bringing that into popular culture. Might be a bit extreme, but into the sci-fi culture.
Right.
There was room to walk around in that some more. And one of the things I really like about Blade Runner is the amount of detail they put into their sets. And this was actually something that I'm going to be looking around on the board for, so I can knock this off as something we've discussed briefly. Or maybe I'll just send it to you later to look for.
Okay.
Look up the miniature sets they use for Blade Runner 2049, because when they did it, they used a lot of the same techniques.
They used practical effects. I love practical effects. Movies with practical
They
effects
built a
hold up
city
so
out of
much better.
practical effects.
Oh, that's awesome. They hold up so much better. And I mean, we're not going to lean on the Star Wars stuff, but the stuff from '77 in a lot of regards look better. The trench run looks great. It still looks great. It's and all the digital. There's a video I watched that was all the digital enhancements, not just like the added singers and the added animals and stuff like that, but how they kind of touched up some of the TIE fighters and things like that. That aside, saying that I didn't see the new Blade Runner in theaters, me as a moviegoer and a lot of people now, it's become you either go to event movies or you just wait for it to come to streaming. Because we were talking about this, you've got your new sound bar at the house, so movies are going to sound crystal clear and sound so good.
I miss my receiver, but I admit the sound bar is really, really good, and it's really nice having a lot less equipment.
Right.
The room looks cleaner without the speakers. I miss my surround sound. It is not the same, but the sound bar is really good. So I'm happy.
So the point I'm going to make is The sound is really good. You've got a really good TV.
Mhm.
We've got a 4K TV here at the house,
Oh
sound
yeah,
system,
your
things
TV's
like
awesome.
that. So, as far as going out to theaters, exhibitionist culture, as far as movies go, is moviegoers in general are going less and less unless it's a big
Mhm.
movie and then everyone goes. So, I've
Right.
seen like 2 movies in the theater in the last 4 years, and I think they were both Star Wars, and like maybe a kids animated feature, so maybe three. That said, obviously didn't see the new Blade Runner in theaters. Probably wouldn't go see the new Demolition Man in theaters.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is the culture of going to theaters to see money could be changing tremendously because AMC
Yep.
and
Universal movies.
Universal have gotten into a pissing match.
So if you were fortunate enough um, to have a wonderful house full of screaming pent up kids, um, you probably bought them a video on demand release. You probably bought Trolls World Tour, let them watch it over and over and over and over just to get yourself, a bit of peace. Because Universal released Trolls World Tour and some other movies on video on demand directly,
Day and date. Yep.
day and date, AMC Theaters said they're not going to book any more Universal movies.
Right. And it was so interesting. So let's
They're cutting the theaters off entirely.
Right. So let's step back just a second so people have perspective. Is when they released them day and date, it wasn't a rental fee. Well, it was a rental fee, but it wasn't your $3.99 rental fee. It was
Right.
it was a higher price. It was a $20 rental
It was
fee.
$20.
And we've talked about this for a while. Is you and I have, or at least I have, really. I don't go to movies a lot. So yes, I do want to see Star Wars in the theater. But if there's a movie I want to see, and I can't necessarily go to see it. Maybe it's like a rated R movie, like a John Wick movie that I'm not necessarily going to see in the theater. I would pay $20 to see it day and date at my house on my
Yep.
4K TV with your nice sound bar. I would pay for that.
Yeah.
And I've
And
been
you
that way
might have
for a
some
while.
friends over. So you think about, well, it's more expensive than a ticket. Yeah, but several people are going to get to enjoy it.
Right. Somebody else brings a 6-pack of beer. Somebody else brings some chips and salsa. You guys chip in on some food. I'll buy the movie. And let's watch this movie. This is first run movies day and date when it comes out.
Yeah. And also like the thing that really sold me on this idea in general, like I was always a big proponent of it. Get me the movie directly as soon as possible. But man, the thing that really opened my eyes to like a huge market that I hadn't really thought that much about was, well, yeah, you got kids. It's hard to get to the movies. When you have a newborn, all of a sudden there's like 2-3 years of movie releases that you are not going to see in a theater. Like you're never going to get to go. Like,
Yeah,
forget it.
I made a list of movies that I wanted to go back and see because we do have some extra time now. And Inception was one of the first ones on top of my list because Katie and I didn't even see Inception. There's just movies that we should see that we haven't seen. So going back to what we were talking about here is because of the quarantine, because people were staying at home, because theaters are shut down, Universal releases Trolls World Tour day and date on video on demand for $20 for a higher rate. Now they made $95 million on that for an opening weekend, which is not bad. Not bad at all. And obviously, but they made more money on it than they would otherwise because they didn't have to pay theaters to show the movie. Now the original Trolls movie made way more money. It made $300 million, like $350 million. But a lot of that goes to the theaters. Something like half of it goes to the theaters that are actually showing the movies. So by going day and date and paying more, yes, they made $95 million. Yes, that is a good bit of money. No, it's not as much as they would have made otherwise, but they didn't make that much less than they would have made otherwise. So
Yeah.
Universal goes, you know what? Let's do it. Let's do what Ben and Lou wanted them to do. Let's go day and date for $20 with these movies. And to come back to point, AMC, which is, I don't know if they're the largest, but they're one of the largest.
Yeah, they're really big. I don't know if they're the largest, but they are definitely.
And and I read this as being kind of pedantic, but they go, all right, we're not carrying any of your movies. None of them. You want to put Fast and the Furious out? No, absolutely not. You want to put Jurassic World out? No, absolutely not. We're not putting any of your shit in our movie theaters anymore.
I feel like that's shooting themselves in the foot, though.
Here's how I read it.
Because I'm not going to say I'm only going to watch theaters that AMC will carry.
Right.
Or
Right.
movies that only AMC will carry. I'm going to say this is the movie that I want to see. This is the big event movie. Like when you got a whole bunch of people to go see Star Wars Episode 9. When we all went to the Rise of Skywalker and bought out a row of seats, that was an event. We didn't buy a row of seats to go to the theater that was convenient because it had the
Right.
best nachos.
Right.
We bought out a row of seats to see The Rise of Skywalker.
Right,
We're going to
exactly.
buy a row of seats to see the next Fast and the Furious movie, whatever they're on, 583.
Right.
Like, it doesn't matter where it's playing. We're going to go to the one that's playing. Like, for me, I'm going to go where, what has my movie and what's the best time, and then who has the best local craft beers. Like,
Well, see, here's how I read this, and maybe I'm reading way too much into it, or maybe I'm right on target. Is I see AMC, like I said, people aren't going out to movies unless it's an event movie. So your
right.
Star Wars are making bukus of money, but all those other theaters that are running movies that are only there for like 3 weeks and they're making $30 million or less in their entire run, the theaters are losing a ton of money on that. So the amount of money that
Yeah.
theaters are making now versus what they've traditionally made is way, way down. I say that to say this is I think what's going on with them saying we're not going to run Universal movies is not because they're such a big dog that they really can sling that weight around. I think that their profit margins were so little that they know if Universal goes day and date, that already hurts a sinking ship. That might be the extra hole in a sinking ship that ends up actually sinking the thing and they go out of business. I see
That's
it as
true.
them being a short stack in a poker game and going all in and just going, you know what, we weren't making that much money before. Now these assholes are just going to send day and date. And so instead of going to see Fast and the Furious, because honestly, instead of going to a theater, if you and I could hang out, I'd rather sit with you and drink whiskey and watch Fast and Furious day and date for $20 than I would actually to go to the theater and go see Fast 13 in space.
See, yeah, I can. There's definitely a line there. Like for me, to me, that's like a big action, high octane event movie. I want to have the surround sound. I want to have, be rattled out of my seat.
Fair, yeah.
That would be something that could be talked into. But absolutely, if you said, "Hey, look, I'm going to rent this for $20," I'd be like, "Cool, let me bring some beers or pitch in $10." I would come over. Like if you said that's how you wanted to watch it, above, does it have my movie? Above, does it have the right time? Is seeing it with friends, and if it's available, like that's something I would do. Because I was thinking earlier, maybe the blockbusters they should keep. Any of the kids movies, like I think Trolls World Tour proves that. Like, well, this isn't proven yet. I use the word proven. I don't want to throw that around casually, but I'm very suspicious now. I can now sit my kids in front of the TV for $20 and they can watch their movies. Kids are Philistines. They don't care about the screen quality. They don't care about the surround. They don't care about the movie going experience. You know what? If I can sit them in front of something for a few hours, can I watch it again? Sure, you got it for 48 hours. Sure.
Right.
Why not? I'm going to go, do some work, and go read a book. By having the ability to put kids in front of a TV and see the releases right away, I don't have to take them to the theater. I don't have to worry about their behavior. I don't have to pay whatever they're charging for a kid's seat, especially in like the cities. It's crazy expensive. We get a pretty cheap ticket, all things considered. Yeah, man, I imagine that especially for like kids, like it's not a big event movie. People aren't thinking that way for kids movies. The big event movies, I think you might still get some, but you raise a really good point that is it enough? Maybe if half the sales go to video on demand and you still get half for bringing, Fast and Furious 10,000 into the movies, maybe half's not enough because you dedicate the theater space, you have staff. Can you do fewer screenings? But if you do fewer screenings, I'm not really sure the revenue model there. Like, does that negatively affect?
And this is getting serious because even NAFTA is getting involved. So NAFTA has gotten involved with this whole deal.
Really?
Because, yeah, and it could come to legalities because what's going on is the exhibitioners, the theaters, are saying, well, this is traditionally it's always been this way. We get the first run, and then you can go to digitally release. And it's not anything that's legally in writing, but they're like you're kind of breaking the unsaid rules of we get them first, and then you go this. So if you're not giving them to us first, we're not going to show them at all. And you're going to lose out on all that revenue trying to force them to put them in the theaters. But then for me, the other side of it, and I don't always go capitalistic on things, and I go capitalism. But on this one, I'm like, if you're the studio, and we have a podcast studio. So if we're a podcast studio, and let's say for whatever godly reason, we were to put out a movie, and that movie goes to the movie theaters, and we have to split half the costs of the original run there, and then we get to put it out digitally, and we get 100% of those costs. It should probably be up to us to go, no, you know what? We're going to self-distribute. We're going to self-distribute. We're going to put it directly to VOD. Instead of paying, $20 to go see it in a theater, pay us $5. And we'll keep 100% of that $5, and hopefully 4 times the people will have access to it.
isn't that exactly how every other media has gone so far, in order of like difficulty of distributing for its size? Like music went first. Um, Imagine if podcasts, like if we got accepted into Apple, into iTunes, and they're like, cool, your podcast is on iTunes. By the way, you can't release your podcast on any other platforms for 2 weeks.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a perfect way to put it.
Right?
And we get half of your ad revenue.
Right. It's too easy for us to do that now because podcasts are, way easier to distribute, and lower damage to us for, someone just copying them for free. So way easier, for us to avoid that kind of thing. But now I feel like the theaters are, I will miss the theaters when they're gone. I like that experience, but if this is their take on it, that is a really bad take, because if I have to choose between theater exclusivity to keep theaters around or video on demand day of release, and it kills the theaters, or if it doesn't kill them, even if they just refuse to do it and they find some other revenue model. Bye, Felicia. Have fun.
I actually just watched Friday a couple days ago.
Nice.
Well, and here's what I would like to see, because the theaters are going to have to change. All of these businesses are always having to change, and I think what's happening, like I said, I think the theaters are hurting because they're putting out, and traditionally have put out, these big multiplexes, the Cineplex, and you've got 15 screens. I think the ones that we go to, I think that place has 15 screens. But places like what is it? The Draft House, Austin.
Alamo Draft House.
Alamo Draft House. Thank you.
Yep.
Places like Alamo Draft House are doing a killing, but a lot of those places are not 20 screens. Some of them are like 4, or even you could remake that model to be like, all right, we've got one screen, but instead of a bunch of movies that you can go see a bunch of movies, we're running those big movies with a great experience. A huge screen, great, best sound you could possibly get, comfy chairs.
Awesome
some of them
food.
afford awesome food, awesome drink. Some of the places come with like blankets, and like the seats move, like 4D movies, the seats move with the thing, really creating an experience that you have to have at the theater that you can't do at home. Where you can't do at home, because we've gotten so close to the theater experience at home. Like I said, 4K TVs and good sound systems for $100, and you pretty much have 90% of the way of what you would get in the cinema experience. Those business models are going to have to change.
Yeah, the Draft House is a destination in and of itself. It's an experience to go, plus you get to see a movie. The theaters are going to have to adapt, and even still, like when it's not the Carmike anymore, but when the theater on my side of town, when it remodeled, kept the same number of screens, but they put in new comfier seats, they put in food service, they cut down the number of seats dramatically in that theater. It's a lot more comfortable to go there now, but either that revenue is gone or it has to come from somewhere. You can only raise ticket prices so much. They sell food now. That may have recovered it for them. Maybe it didn't. They also have a bar that's up front. You can go in and hang out at the bar. Just like, it's not in a great place of town to just go to the bar though. And it's a really expensive bar. So it's not a draw. Like, this is not a draw.
Right. And we are old.
They didn't hit it right.
Yeah, exactly. And we are old enough to know, for those that are our age or older, is movie theaters, even you talk about the big seats, that's not the first, renovation that these theaters have gone through. When you and I were kids, the theaters, God, I sound so old. When you and I were kids, we
didn't have 3 dimensions. You couldn't go higher.
We were just a cartoon.
You kids in your stadium seating.
That's it. That's what, God, 3 times I'm superfluous. Is once, twice, 3 times superfluous.
Well, you're teeing them up for me. It's like,
I'm sorry. We didn't have stadium seating. It was just a flat room with a big screen at the top. And if you had somebody like me or you that was 6 feet tall sitting in front of you, and you were a kid, because I was 5. So if you've got a 5-year-old sitting in a seat and you've got, a 6-foot lummox like me in front of you, then you're not going to be able to see the movie. So I remember all those movie theaters came in and shut down for like 2 weeks. And they were like, now with stadium seating, they totally renovated their places to tilt it so people could see, in all the seats. But you were still in these little tiny stadium seats. And now you've got theaters that have taken out those stadium seats, the tiny ones, and put in the big comfy ones. So this is not the first time this has happened.
And the seats were so close together that, you couldn't get out during the show. It's kind of like the Fox Theater. You'd be stepping on people to leave the theater. Now the rows are so big, you have legroom plus service staff has room to come in and bring you food and beer. Like there's so much room that's in these theaters now. When we've come from the 80s, and they've come even further than that, but even us in the 80s, coming from a point where if you were in a theater without the stadium seating, if you were sitting behind someone tall and you were short, you wouldn't know why Jurassic Park was so scary. You'd never see the T-Rex,
You just see the head of the T-Rex and it just ducks down behind Bob in front of you. So.
Yeah, like that's not that big. All right, yeah. I think we've destroyed this topic. I think we covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah. So let's finish with one thing on the AMC thing. With AMC, do you think they stand by what they're saying and that they never run another Universal movie ever again? Or do you think that they find a way to, or does Universal back off of doing day and date? And you don't, you're just shaking your head.
Great alternative. Cause I think that's something we have to consider. Cause it's certainly possible. 95 million for Trolls World Tour coming direct to video. I mean, depends on what they were expecting out of it, but anyone who can step aside from the business of it and protecting the shareholder value and the executives, jobs for a moment can look at that and say for the sequel at a time when people weren't going out and $20 for the whole, family as opposed to, if you're in New York City, $13, $15 for a ticket, you bring the kids, that's $60, at the door. Even if you're only getting half of it, that's still 30. We're in unprecedented times. It's hard to tell what these numbers mean. Like you said, what's the theater share and what would people have done if we weren't all cooped up? Are there a lot of people who aren't going to the movies because they don't have jobs right now and they just don't want to spend the money that might have paid for $20? There's a lot of question marks right now. But the fact that you could splash 95 million on basically a gamble, no, you don't go back from this. Like there's no going back. Pandora's box is opened, and Universal saying, you know what? I'd be willing to believe that maybe they'd say, cool, we'll give theaters a week or two, but I don't think theaters will accept that unless AMC really realizes they shot themselves in the foot and they want to take a week or two because the first opening weekend's big.
Right.
Maybe there is a compromise. I'll backpedal.
I think there's going to be a compromise, and then I do have to wrap up. I think there may be a compromise. Maybe they still go day and date, but I think maybe AMC uses it to leverage to get more money, a higher percentage out of what comes to the theater, and then still allow it to be day and date. Maybe that's how they leverage that. But I think Universal may ultimately be shooting themselves in the foot. As much as I want them to go day and date, let's think about the logic of this, and let's think 2 generations down the road when like my kids' are going to movies. It used to be you go to see it in the theater. It's in the theater for 6 months sometimes, but then it's out of theater for a year before it came to VHS and that sort of thing.
I do not miss those days.
And then that time became shorter, where movies are shorter run in the movie theater, but then they go out for a rental fee. And then now we're talking about pushing that even further, and it's day and date for both of them, but you pay a higher amount at home. Then I think a lot of people are going to go, well, why am I paying $20 to watch it now when I can wait a month and pay it and watch it for $3.99? So if that continues in that direction, I think Universal runs the issue of people going, well, why am I going to pay $20? I'll wait for it to go. I'm going to watch it at home. Why would I pay $20 at home when I can just wait a month and pay $3.99 at home? So then they may be forced with a decision, well, now do we still charge the higher rate? Or does supply and demand dictate that higher rate goes down to $10 instead of $3.99? And then it becomes, well, I'm going to pay $10 for that when I can pay $3.99 in a couple weeks. And then does it become, it goes day and date, but it's just a rental fee to watch it at home, or it's a higher price at the theater. So I think they may be shooting themselves in the foot that eventually people may go, why pay the higher price? I'll just wait.
That's a great point. I mean, that calculus has been around for a while because you know that it's coming to DVD, you know it's coming to rentals. So time can be one factor. Maybe instead of a month later going to $3.99 rental, maybe they need to keep it at $20 for 6 months. Maybe it needs to be at an exclusive price for hire for longer. Another option is ownership versus purchase. If you're doing direct release day of, especially if the theaters end up going away or transforming into something completely different that looks different than we think of them now and operates on a different model, does it make sense to have a day of release package for, I don't know, something ridiculous like $50 you wouldn't pay $50 to own a movie, but you get the rental, you get it right away. Now you own this movie right away. You can watch it as many times as you want.
Right.
Have your friends over, have a big party. And then, again, 6 months later or 1 month later, whatever that time is, where people aren't saying, well, I'll just wait. We have to figure that route. Then maybe you drop it to like $20 for buying a movie or whatever it comes to. Yeah. I mean, this is a whole bunch of new calculus that could be easy to get wrong, and they really could be shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah. It'll be really interesting to see what happens. So that's pretty much all I have on that. Anyway, so that's been it. This has been General Geekery specifically.
It's been a podcast.
I've been Ben.
I've been Lou.
And we'll not see you at the theaters. We'll see you right here on YouTube.
Or in our inbox when you send us all the complaints.
Oh, that's right. So GenGeek1, the number 1 at gmail.com, Broken Toy Studios at gmail.com for any of your advertising. GenGeekLou, I don't know why I'm going to give them that, but GenGeekLou is actually a Gmail address that you can email.
Yeah, you can send an email there.
You can send it. It won't bounce back. And GenGeekBen at gmail.com also will not bounce back. You might not get an answer, but it won't come back undeliverable. So anyway, that's all I got, man. We covered a lot of stuff.
We covered a lot of territory today. All right.
All right, man.
Join us next time.
It was good to talk to you, man.
Same.
All right.
Bye.
See you guys. Bye.
This has been a Broken Toys studio production.
Yeah, still good.